Hello friends and welcome to gusmcdollgames. My name is Nick McDowell and today we are continuing the NATO campaign in Naval War Arctic Circle with the fourth tutorial mission Sitting Ducks, in which we will cover some additional features of Naval War Arctic Circle, such as ground-based air defense, submarine-launched torpedoes, ship-launched missiles against land targets, air-launched missiles against surface targets, waypoints, visual identifications, and helicopter-launched torpedoes against subsurface targets. Naval War Arctic Circle is based on a hypothetical Great Arctic War set in 2030 and largely fought, as the name suggests, in the North Atlantic, Arctic, Baltic and the North Sea. So in this tutorial, 4 Sitting Ducks is an open tutorial scenario where you can hunt for subs and defenceless surface ships. In the description, it's a freeform tutorial where you can test different weapon systems and tactics. There are 4 different enemy unarmed surface ships you can locate and engage. And we'll start the game. As you can see in the description, the helicopter will automatically launch and detect the enemy sub. Killing this submarine ends the tutorial. So our objectives are to sink the enemy sub for victory. Now, this is an interesting tutorial because it doesn't actually really teach you anything, but we've decided to use this as a bit of a test bed. So as the scenario begins, there are a lot of air surface detections, as you can see both on the left hand side and on the map. And it's not really clear why these are here, because mostly they involve ships and aircraft getting shot down. But what we'll do, this is an Su-35 flanker, and what we will do is look at the airport and the look at the ground-based air defense. So this is an RBS-23 surface-to-air missile battery, and as you can see, it's got 3 launchers that are launching here against the Su-35. And this is what ground-based air defense looks like. You simply select the weapon system, you right-click on the aircraft, or alternatively they will launch automatically on inbound air targets. And there's our RBS-23 surface-to-air missile that's closing in on the Su-35. And you can just see the Su-35 just over the horizon, and there we go, that's a hit. So I'll move now to have a look at some of the rest of it. Okay, so we've got now an incoming missile on our surface group, and this gives us an opportunity to look at ship-based air defense. And you can see there a number of missiles coming out of our surface group and knocking out the Club SSN-27 missiles. And they're all knocked out of the sky. Okay, so now these preliminaries are dispensed with. The objective in the mission is to sink the enemy Aquila-class submarine, and our destroyer must survive. Have a quick look at the harpoons on the Virginia and the Mark 48s, but there are no targets within range of the Virginia, so we'll move to the E3 Sentry, as always, take it to maximum height, slow speed, and enable its sensors, which in this case is the AN/APY Band 1, Band 2 radar. So I'll activate that. And that way the Sentry can start detecting things. You can see Bergen Airport here, and you can see the USS Texas. And what we'll do is, it's got its Harpoon missiles with a range of 76 nautical miles, so clearly within range, and Mark 48 ADCAP heavyweight torpedoes with a 27 nautical mile range. So what we'll do is we'll launch these against these civilian targets. Normally we wouldn't do this, but in this scenario they're marked as enemy. We haven't positively identified them yet, which is another reason we normally wouldn't launch, but just for the sake of demonstrating how we launch ship-launched torpedoes against surface targets. So select your torpedo, right-click on the target like that, and there we have the launch. And you can see the torpedo coming out just there. So there's the USS Texas Virginia-class submarine. And there's a further launch of 2 more torpedoes. Okay, now we're switching to Bergen Airport, which seems to have fired its AMRAAMs perhaps against that the target to the northeast. But this airport has a range of aircraft. We'll look at the F-22 Raptor, but it's got a range of other aircraft as well. So it's got air superiority, naval strike, air superiority long range, land attack with JDAMs. You can see in that profile, it's land attack with non-stealth, using the JDAM weapon again. Other profiles include land attack with the smart bombs. Yep, and there we go. It's also, so we've got 4 F-22s. We've also got F-35 Lightning in air superiority. They've got air superiority short range, air superiority long range with AMRAAMs. We've got naval strike with sidewinders and AMRAAMs, and Kongsberg JSMs. We've got short range naval strike profiles. We have strike profiles with the HARM anti-radiation missiles against radars, and again in short range. Let's have a look at this SU-35 though, because whoop, there he goes. He's shot down, all the way down. Again, not clear what this was doing in the scenario, but going back to the where were we? The F-35 Lightnings, and looking at their profiles, so they've got the HARM anti-radiation. You also have strikes with the JSOW, strike short range with the JSOW, JDAM strikes, JDAM short range strikes. We have the Eurofighter Typhoon in an air superiority profile, air superiority long range with the sidewinders, air superiority short range with the AMRAAMs, naval strike with the Kongsberg JSM. Very versatile platform this. Standoff land attack profile with the JSOW, a land attack with the bombs, the Paveway 2s, a land attack with the JDAM, strike with the Maverick, good against armoured targets, for example, strike with the HARM against radar and emitters, and a standoff land attack with the KEPD 350s. So very versatile. We also have Boeing E3 Sentries and Boeing KC-767s. We've got Poseidon, we've got Mariner UAVs, Tyrannus UCAVs, Pegasus UCAVs, the M47B Pegasus. But I think what we're going to use is the Tupolev 22 M3 Backfire C naval strike profile, these aircraft. And we'll go ahead and launch these ones off to the west. And you'll see them launching there, launching out of Bergen Airport. And then they'll shortly make a turn to the west. There we have it. And for some reason they want to turn into terrain. A very yep, there we go, narrowly avoiding that mountain. Very much Broken Arrow scenario for fans of that movie. What we're going to do with the this group here, we're going to demonstrate the place waypoints feature in the movement planner. When turned on, clicking on the satellite map will place new waypoints instead of issuing orders to the unit to move directly. So we'll wait till they clear the terrain here. Over they go. And we'll put some waypoints down for them. And you can see there, you simply right click on the map for each new waypoint you want to place. And there they are, waypoints placed. So that's a very handy feature if you're trying to have a bit of control over your strike package's movements. Now this is the Mark 48 ADCAP heavyweight torpedo. You'll see it has a torpedo sonar. In active mode you can actually deactivate the sonar and leave it to track in passive sensoring mode. I'm sure that can be useful in some scenarios, but we'll leave that turned on in active. We'll go back to our task force, which is currently evading torpedoes launched at it from the Aquila class submarine. And this is the San Jacinto Ticonderoga class cruiser. You can see the vertical launch systems, the rear and the front, stern and the bow of the ship, and it has 10 Tomahawks. So to launch a Tomahawk land attack missile attack, you simply select the target, here the Orland radar system, and you select your missile and you right click, and there you can see the missiles launching from the rear vertical launching system, and they'll simply fly off towards the land target. So that's a surface launched land attack missile. Okay, here we have our Tupolevs, and they're following their pattern. What we'll do with them is eventually, when they finish their manoeuvres, we'll get them to launch a missile. Okay, so just checking, we've still got a bit of time. If these torpedoes sink our destroyer, then the tutorial mission comes to an end, and I don't really want that to happen until I'm ready for it. So this is the Winston S. Churchill and Arleigh Burke class destroyer, and you can see it has a vertical launch system in the front, vertical launch systems in the rear with the helicopter deck, as well as short-range missile systems. So what we'll do is we will, with the Tomahawk here, we will target Stavanger Naval Base. And again, just right click and you can see the missiles launch. Okay, so this is the Winston S. Churchill destroyer. So we've got the land attack missiles out, we've got a torpedo going against the ships, we've got our Tupolevs. We'll increase their speed, they're going a little bit slower than I would have liked, but still they're going 920 kilometers per hour, which is fairly decent. So at this point we haven't actually detected those, or identified those ships, we've detected them. So we've got two F-22 air superiority fighters, and we'll do what we probably should have done before we launched the torpedoes and launch these to conduct a positive identification. And there they go from the Bergen airport. We'll follow these around. They'll probably bank to the west again. Yep. There we go. And they seem again intent on flying directly towards terrain, narrowly avoiding it. There we go. And what we'll do is once they clear terrain, we'll drop down their altitude all the way down to very low, which will be about 10 meters off the surface. What I want to do with these is to fly them within range of the surface target to conduct a positive identification. Obviously there's something you can do fairly much with impunity against a civilian target, something you'd want to be fairly cagey doing against a military target that can have the capability to engage you. Nonetheless, there they are, speeding along at almost 2,000 kilometers an hour, 10 meters off the surface of the sea, towards these ships to conduct a positive identification. And what we'll do once we've done that, you can see the Tupolevs, they're about to merge with the Tupolevs to the right, and there they go. Okay, it was fine though, they had a bit of vertical separation between the F-22s at 10 meters and the Tupolevs at 100 meters. Okay, so these guys will go in, conduct their positive identification, and then we'll get the Tupolevs to launch. And once we've done that, we will probably draw the mission to a close by engaging the Akula. So it looks like, well, along the way we somehow have managed to positively identify the two vessels. But we're going to do a visual identification, a VID. And the other advantages of this is a very high profile way to make yourself known, and doing a high speed pass in front of a vessel is a very good way of telling the vessel that it's been detected and that you have the capability to engage it. And this is something that in peacetime air forces will sometimes do to navies that they feel are encroaching on their waters. They'll conduct a high speed low level pass in front of the vessel like this. Okay, so visual identification achieved. We'll increase their altitude, send them on a return to base heading, and they will again cut across the bow of these vessels, now at a slightly higher altitude, very visible from the bridges of these two ships. Okay, we've definitely achieved visual identification, and also let them know that we're here. So we'll leave the F-22s behind, go back to the Tupolev bombers, and you can see they're coming up for their final turn, their final waypoint, so we'll just follow them a little bit, and once they've turned into their waypoint, we'll then launch missiles at the target ships there. And we'll demonstrate how to do air-launched missiles against surface targets. Okay, and they're turning into their final waypoint, so we'll get the KH-15 AS-16 kickback missiles with a range of 162 nautical miles, select the missiles, then right-click on the targets, and off they go. And we might fire another set of missiles as well. There we go. And that's that. So now we'll follow the missiles. You see the aircraft themselves are 100 meters off the surface of the ocean, but look what's happening with these missiles. They're already tracking through over 7,000 feet, 7,000 meters. They're traveling at over 1,000 kilometers an hour, and you can just see, relative to the missiles, slightly to their front and left and down, you can see the target ships there. So these missiles are now at 10,500 meters off the surface. You can see, there we go, the target ship's slightly off the right front of the missile there. And they're traveling towards their targets at very high altitude and very high speed. And as they get a little bit closer, what they'll do is they'll then reduce their altitude, obviously. Okay, we'll move now to our task force and just check up on them. Yep, that torpedo contact is not an imminent threat, which is good. We'll go back to the torpedoes here and follow these in. As we can see them coming close in on the surface group. We'll speed up time a little bit. And there we go, we've got our first and our second target ship destroyed. And they're both sinking. So now I think it's time to draw things to a close. So what we'll do is we'll get our helicopter, the Seahawk, SH-60B Seahawk, in an anti-submarine warfare profile. We'll bring it close to the submarine. We'll actually slow it right down, drop its altitude down. It's as you can see, it's been in placing sonar buoys. We'll get it to drop its dipping sonar and deploy that. And then we will engage with a Mark 54 torpedo. We'll engage that Vepa Chuka B submarine, which is our target, the Yakula class submarine. Okay. And the torpedo does not seem to have worked. I'm not quite sure what happened to that. But the submarine's been detected by the torpedo and by sonar buoys, so we'll re-engage with another Mark 54 torpedo. And yep, there we go. So in the fourth tutorial in Naval War Arctic Circle, we've covered ground-based air defense, submarine-launched torpedoes, ship-launched missiles against land targets. There we go, we've destroyed the Yakula class. We've covered air-launched missiles against surface targets, waypoints, visual identifications, and as we've just seen, helicopter-launched torpedoes against subsurface targets. This brings our fourth tutorial mission to a close. In our next tutorial, we'll cover radar, then sonar, and then start the 12 missions in the NATO campaign. As always, thanks for watching. For more Naval War Arctic Circle content, check out the Jersey Blockade and NATO campaign playlists on our channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. And stay tuned for the next episode.